On the night of December 30th, 2000, a family of 4 was brutally murdered in their home in Tokyo, Japan. The killer spent hours inside the house after the murders. He ate their food. He used their bathroom. He took a nap on their couch. He left behind his DNA, his fingerprints, and even his jacket. 24 years later, despite having more evidence than almost any unsolved case in modern history, Japanese police still don't know who he is. This is the story of the Setagaya family murders, one of the most perplexing unsolved cases in Japan, and possibly the world. The Miyazawa family lived in the Setagaya ward of Tokyo, in a quiet residential neighborhood. It was the kind of place where people felt safe, where families knew each other, where doors were sometimes left unlocked. Mikio Miyazawa, 44, was an executive at a British consulting firm. His wife, Yasuko, was 41. They had 2 children, their daughter, Nina, who was 8 years old, and their son, Ray, who was just 6. The family lived in a small 2-story house. It was one of the last remaining homes in an area that was being redeveloped. Most of their neighbors had already moved out. A park was being built next door. This isolation would become significant. By all accounts, the Miyazawas were a normal, loving family. Mikio was hardworking and devoted to his children. Yasuko was a caring mother. The kids were bright and happy. December 30th, 2000 was an ordinary day for them. It was the weekend before New Year's, a major holiday in Japan. The family spent time together at home. Mikio's mother lived in an adjoining house, connected to theirs, and she would check on them regularly. That evening, the family settled in for the night. They had no idea what was about to happen. Sometime between 11 p.m. on December 30th and the early hours of December 30th, an intruder entered the Miyazawa home. He likely climbed through a window on the 2nd floor, entering through Nina's bedroom. The 8-year-old girl was sleeping in her loft bed. The killer attacked her first, stabbing her multiple times. She died in her bed. The commotion woke Mikio, who rushed upstairs to see what was happening. He confronted the intruder in the hallway. A violent struggle ensued. Mikio fought desperately to protect his family, but the killer stabbed him repeatedly. Mikio was found at the base of the stairs, his body bearing defensive wounds. He had fought hard. Yasuko, hearing the struggle, came to help her husband. She too was attacked and killed. Her body was found near Mikio's. Then the killer went to the 1st floor where 6-year-old Ray was sleeping. The little boy was murdered in his bed. 4 people, an entire family, slaughtered in their own home. But here's what makes this case so disturbing. After killing the Miyazawa family, the intruder didn't leave. He stayed in the house for hours. What the killer did after the murders is what makes this case truly chilling. Police were able to reconstruct his movements through evidence left at the scene. He went into the kitchen and helped himself to 4 cups of tea and several ice creams from the family's refrigerator. He ate barley tea and melon-flavored ice cream while the bodies of his victims lay nearby. He used the family's computer, logging into a website about a popular theater troupe. Investigators later found his browsing history. He seemed calm, unhurried. He went through drawers and cabinets, rummaging through the family's belongings. He took some cash, but not all of it. He didn't seem interested in robbery as a primary motive. At some point, he was injured during the struggle with Mikio. He bled extensively throughout the house. He went to the bathroom and treated his wounds using the family's first aid supplies. He left bloody tissues, bandages, and towels. Then, perhaps exhausted, he went to the living room and lay down on the couch. He took a nap. Investigators believe he may have stayed in the house for up to 10 hours after the murders. When he finally left, he took Mikio's jacket but left behind his own. It was a crucial piece of evidence. The next day, on December 31st, Yasuko's mother came to visit the family. She lived in the house next door and had grown worried when no one answered. She discovered the horrific scene and called the police. When police arrived, they found what should have been a detective's dream: a crime scene absolutely filled with evidence. The killer left behind his clothing, a jacket, a hat, and a bandana. The jacket was an Air Force brand, relatively rare in Japan. The sand found in the pockets was traced to a specific area near a US military base. His DNA, blood samples throughout the house, saliva on half-eaten ice cream. He left so much biological evidence that police had a complete DNA profile within days. His fingerprints, multiple prints were found on objects he had touched. His footprints, he wore Schlesinger brand shoes, size 27.5 centimeters, about a US men's size, 9.5. These shoes were sold primarily in South Korea and were uncommon in Japan. Physical description. Based on evidence, investigators believe the killer was a young man, possibly in his teens or early 20s. Blood type A. He had taken a specific type of Korean medicine for digestive issues shortly before the murders, as traces were found in his feces that he left in the toilet. Police also determined he had likely suffered from a skin condition, as certain fibers and materials suggested he was sensitive to certain fabrics. This is an astonishing amount of evidence. In most cases, detectives would be thrilled to have even one of these clues. But here, despite all of this, the killer has never been identified. Japanese police launched one of the most extensive investigations in the country's history. They tested the DNA against over 1 million people. They followed thousands of leads. They worked with international law enforcement. The Schlesinger shoes were tracked to a batch sold in South Korea. The sand in the jacket pockets suggested a connection to a US military base. The rare Korean medicine pointed to someone with ties to Korea. These clues led investigators to theorize the killer might have been a young man of Korean descent, possibly with connections to the US military community or someone who had recently been in South Korea. But despite these leads, no arrests have ever been made. Over the years, several theories have emerged. Theory 1. A drifter or troubled youth. The killer's behavior, eating ice cream and browsing the internet, suggests someone young, possibly mentally unstable. Some believe he was a homeless or transient individual who broke into the house impulsively. Theory 2. Someone known to the family. While most evidence suggests a stranger, some investigators believe the killer may have had some connection to the Miyazawas or had been stalking them. Theory 3. A foreigner who left Japan. The Korean shoes, the military base connection, and the fact that the killer was never caught in Japan's extensive DNA database suggests he may have been a foreigner who fled the country shortly after the murders. Theory 4. A thrill killer. The seemingly random nature of the attack, combined with the killer's bizarre post-murder behavior, has led some to believe this was a crime committed for excitement or compulsion. The Setagaya murders traumatized Japan. The country has one of the lowest crime rates in the world, and a crime of this brutality was shocking to the national consciousness. The Miyazawa house remained standing for years after the murders, preserved as a crime scene. It has since been demolished, but the case remains open. Every year on December 30th, Japanese police revisit the case. They hold press conferences appealing for information. They've created a detailed replica of the crime scene at police headquarters, hoping someone will recognize a detail and come forward. The case has been featured on Japanese television countless times. Rewards have been offered, but no credible suspect has ever emerged. In recent years, advances in DNA technology have given investigators hope. They've used genetic genealogy techniques similar to those that caught the Golden State Killer in America. But so far, these efforts have not led to an identification. The Setagaya family murders remain one of the most baffling, unsolved cases in the world. A family of 4 was killed in their home. The killer left behind more evidence than almost any other unsolved case in history. His DNA, his fingerprints, his clothing, his footprints. And yet, he has never been caught. Somewhere, possibly in Japan, possibly in Korea, possibly anywhere in the world, there is a man who brutally murdered 4 people on the last day of the year 2000. A man who then calmly ate ice cream and browsed the internet before disappearing into the night. Who was he? And why did he do it? If you have any information about this case, Japanese police are still accepting tips through their website. What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments below.